Welcome, welcome, welcome to Transgender Day of Visibility at Bronx Borough Hall. I bring you salutations and good blessings from the Bronx's LGBTQ Center, Destination Tomorrow, where I'm so happy to be the Chief Strategy Officer. But I'm also here serving as the chairperson for the Bronx's LGBTQIA+ task force that's also a part of the Bronx Borough President's Office. I want to welcome all attendees and our Bronx family here today. I want to thank our co-sponsors, our partners, and our panelists, because today we want to provide a brief overview of the power that we have to harness within this amazing community that we're uplifting today. We want to uplift the experiences of people of the transgender and non-binary community who are professional working in government and policy making. The big reason behind all of this today is that a lot of people don't know that in all these amazing offices, there are individuals working that are from, behalf, and for this amazing community. I root myself standing on land that once held this community sacred, and today we uphold that tradition in commemoration of such a valid day. So as you hear their incredible stories and hear about the incredible work they do, please take some time after the event to get to know them and tell somebody, because more people need to know, okay? So without further ado, I want to give space to the voices that truly matter and start with introducing one of the co-hosts of the event, the Human Rights Commission's office, and bring up Tabitha Gonzalez.
How y'all all doing? Can you hear me? Okay, so first and foremost, thank you all for coming. I'm happy that you all decided to come and hear our voices today. I'm going to give remarks from our commissioner. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tabitha Gonzalez. I serve as the Associate Human Rights Specialist and Transgender Liaison at the Community Relationships Bureau at the New York City Commissions on Human Rights. It is truly an honor to be amongst such dedicated advocates and public servants who are driving meaningful change for equality. First, I'd like to express my heartfelt thank you to the Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson, and your office for partnering with us to make today's event possible. I would also like to thank Destination Tomorrow, the LGBTQ+ Center here in the Bronx, for your unwavering commitment to supporting LGBTQ+ communities in the Bronx and being a huge supporter of today's event. I also like to thank the Bronx Borough LGBTQ Task Force in assisting in organizing this event as well. I also want to thank our Deputy Director, who is here with me today, Commissioner Kadri, Deputy Commissioner Kadri Chowdhury. Raise your hand. Thank you. And all my CCHR colleagues who are happy to be here today and show support and solidarity. So I have a few words from our commissioner. At this critical moment in history, when the rights of trans and gender nonconforming people are under attack across the country, I come bearing a clear message from the Chair and Commissioner Annabelle Palmer of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. In New York City, gender identity and expression, along with 25 other categories, are still protected under the human rights law. The commission is here to ensure that New Yorkers can live, work, thrive without fear of bias, hate, and discrimination. Your rights matter. You matter. We are fully committed to protecting and upholding the rights today and every day across the borough and the larger New York City. But we cannot do this work alone. If you have experienced, witnessed discrimination, please reach out to us. You can reach us online by dialing 212-416-0197. You can even call 311 and ask for human rights. If you are concerned about your safety, you can also do this anonymously. Additionally, our community service centers is located right here in the Bronx at 1932 Arthur Avenue. The commission is proud to be a part in this community and be a partner in this community. And we encourage you to invite us into your space so we can work together to build a more inclusive city. Trans Day of Visibility is a powerful reminder of the strength, the resilience of trans and gender nonconforming communities. While the struggle for equality is far from over, today offers us a moment to celebrate the contributions of our resilient trans community. We'll hear from our incredible panel shortly, including our former trans liaison, New York City's first Deputy Director of LGBTQ plus affairs, Chanel Lopez from Kathy Hochul's office, along with other panelists who will share their inspiring stories. I hope that we leave this event today, that we will all be inspired, energized, and recommitted to upholding human rights. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the panel. I would like to bring up my sister, I'm so proud, the executive director of the Stonewall Community Foundation and our moderator for the evening, or for this afternoon, Elisa Crespo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you today? It is Trans Week of Visibility, and we have some powerhouses on this panel. We need some energy in the Bronx Borough Hall today. All right, let me get myself together here. So, as was stated, my name is Elisa Crespo. I use she, her pronouns. I have the honor and privilege of serving as the executive director of Stonewall Community Foundation, which is celebrating 35 years of existence this year, resourcing LGBTQ movements, people, projects all across the country that are on the front lines doing amazing work. You know, this place here was once my workplace that I worked at. Under the former borough president, Ruben Diaz Jr., I served as an education liaison, and so it's great to be back here at Borough Hall. Borough Hall, under the current and former administration, has always been an unapologetically inclusive place for queer and trans people, and that work continues today with our borough's first ever woman borough president, who, by the way, is responsible for Black Trans Lives Matter Boulevard right here in the Bronx. Okay? And I might add, has been a champion for the Bronx LGBTQ Center Destination Tomorrow. So, with that, it is my honor to welcome to the podium the 14th Borough President of the Boogie Down Bronx, the Honorable Vanessa L. Gibson.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Trans Day of Visibility right here at Bronx Borough Hall. We are so excited to be with all of you. I am Vanessa L. Gibson, and I am proud to serve as the president of the great borough of the Bronx. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am so grateful to welcome all of you here to this very important event, our Transgender Day of Visibility. So first, let me say that while we are here indoors here at Bronx Borough Hall, when you leave the building, I want everyone to go to 161st Street and Walton Avenue, where we have our flag poles. You will see the transgender flag that is raised at our office. There's a lot of construction happening here at Borough Hall on both sides of the building. So our flag poles are inside the staging area. And so most of our flag raisings will now be at 161st Street and Walton Avenue, right in the backdrop of Lou Gehrig Plaza. We know it's important when we raise flags. It symbolizes solidarity and unity. It symbolizes love and gratitude and togetherness. And so we wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that the trans flag is raised officially at Bronx Borough Hall. So thank you so much for that. On behalf of my team, the Office of the Bronx Borough President, we are thankful for all of you coming here today. Thank you to our family, to the community, to leaders, to advocates, to all of our sponsors, our panelists who I will acknowledge, to you, and you. We are all VIPs, and we are all a part of this incredible work to make a difference in the lives of our people, our brothers and sisters and siblings. No matter how you identify, we are all one. And so I just want to make sure that everyone understands the important work that we're doing each and every day. I want to acknowledge the LGBTQIA+ task force in our office. Thank you to our amazing co-chairs, my Deputy Director of Community Boards, Alexis Ruiz, and our Senior Planner in the Topography Unit, Jaden Vasquez, co-chair. I acknowledge our Director of Communications, Michael Ivory, is here. And I have team members, Tom Lucania, our Deputy Chief is here, Nelson Palacios, our Education Director, and all of my Team Gibson members. Just do a wave, do a wave. All right. So before I acknowledge many of our distinguished leaders, this event today features a panel discussion with our LGBTQIA+ working professionals in government in the non-for-profit sector, providing insights on their careers and truly the intersection of the LGBTQIA+ identity and public service. This conversation will center on the importance of being visible, of advocating, and focusing on policy changes led by our transgender and non-binary individuals and leaders in government. So we are here for a very important reason. When we talk about empowerment, encouragement, enrichment, uplifting all of our people. Transgender Day of Visibility first started in 2009. That was when I was first elected to the New York State Assembly. Wow, beautiful year. And it is an annual event that we recognize in the month of March, and it's dedicated to celebrating our transgender community and raising awareness about so much discrimination that many of our brothers, sisters, and siblings face. Trans representation in government, it matters. And while the number of openly transgender officials in government continues to grow, we know that trans individuals remain significantly underrepresented in policy-making decisions and having a real seat at the table. And so I'm very proud that in 2024, we first raised the trans flag to recognize Transgender Day of Visibility. And here in 2025, yes, we are raising the flag again. So I am so proud of that. Let me acknowledge our partners at the Bronx's LGBT Center. And I want to say thank you to our executive director, Sean Coleman, who is a dear friend, who is a leader, who is chosen to lead us. He is chosen to lead us for such a moment as this, and I'm so grateful to him. I am grateful to our chair of our office's LGBTQIA plus task force, our very own Sage Rivera. Thank you to everyone for your incredible leadership. To our MC for the hour, a dear friend and incredible leader. So proud of the work that she continues to do representing our community. And that is our very own, on behalf of Stonewall Community Foundation, Alisa Crespo. Thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge on behalf of the New York State Governor Kathy Hochul's office, we have Chanel Lopez. Chanel is amazing. New York City Public Advocate Jamani D. Williams. We have Kim Watson. Our very own, and he has sang here before, I love it, actor, performer, entertainer, Timmy Moss. We love you, Timmy. Thank you so much. On behalf of our partners at the Osborne Association, Grace Detrevara. We love you, Grace. Representing Recoveries for Us. She is a part of our LGBTQIA plus task force. Great leader, super proud, Connie Pacheco. On behalf of our partners at Ryan Health, we're so grateful to have Charles Shorter. Thank you, Charles. On behalf of our partners at Stonewall CDC, we are happy to have Saif Lashaw. Saif is amazing. During the pandemic, when I didn't know nothing about remote learning and virtual calls, Saif and Stonewall CDC helped tremendously, and I am forever grateful for that during my city council days. On behalf of our partners at BAD, we have Charles Rice Gonzalez. And let me welcome and recognize our distinguished panelists who will be talking about a myriad of topics related to our work, our advocacy in the government world. We have on behalf of our comptroller, Sam Stanton. To discuss legal protections and civil rights on behalf of our Attorney General's office, Taylor Brown. To discuss policies and trans rights on behalf of the Governor's office, Chanel Lopez. Advocacy and government work on behalf of Public Advocate's office, Kim Watson. And talking about the trans experience and policing in our communities, Ariad Harbor. And I want to acknowledge the New York City Commission on Human Rights. They do phenomenal work. I've been working with the commission for years. When I was in the city council, always at our events, resource fairs, every event we have had to support our community, the New York City Commission on Human Rights has always been there. So I acknowledge our city commissioner, Annabelle Palma, and I acknowledge our deputy commissioner. Thank you so much to Deputy Commissioner Chajori. We appreciate you. You have been here for a long time. And we say thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And of course, from the commission, I have to acknowledge Tabitha Gonzalez, who has been phenomenal. Tabitha has led, on behalf of the commission, trainings for my entire staff here at Borough Hall on what we can do to be better public servants, understanding different terms and identifications and associations and language that is acceptable and respectable for our community. Tabitha has led that, and I just want to say on behalf of my team, thank you so much for your work. Okay, I'm winding down, folks. I'm winding down. So I just wanted to read a statement quickly. When we saw the first attack on the trans community from this White House administration, I don't acknowledge names, White House administration, I want to say it was an attack on all of us. And I immediately issued a statement and put it on social media and sent it to our colleagues in the media, because my team and I want to affirm that any attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. And I just want everyone to know that we stand with all of our LGBTQIA plus brothers, sisters, and siblings, our trans community. We stand with everyone. And during this time, when we're seeing discrimination, ladies and gentlemen, we have to unite like never before. We have to stand together, because it is our community that is being attacked, our families, our constituents, our clients, the people we serve every day. We cannot allow them to live in the shadows of darkness, but we have to make sure that we are strong, we are united, we are firm in this work. We are not going to let anyone erase our history and who we are and take away our rights that we are afforded in this country. There is so much happening, and I need everyone here to be credible messengers, to be upstanders, to make sure that we go into our communities and we tell our constituents that they are not alone. It is so important for us to meet our communities where they are. They may not feel comfortable coming into a government building, a city agency, a courthouse, right? So guess what we have to do? Occupy the block. We have to be in the streets, folks. We cannot be afraid. We cannot be afraid, because we have the power. And I know sometimes it feels impossible. I realize that. My heart hurts sometimes, actually all the time, because there's just so much we're dealing with on so many levels. But I am here to assure everyone that the office of the Bronx Borough President will stand with everyone yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There has been a troubling and concerted effort by this White House to target our trans community. The removal of our identities from federal websites and national monuments is not only dangerous, but it sends a harmful message that this administration does not value inclusivity or the respect of our people, the lives and experiences of our transgender community. In the Bronx, we are proud to represent a diverse and vibrant community, and that includes our LGBTQIA plus brothers, sisters, and siblings, all of our residents. We stand firm in our commitment to honor, to respect, and support all of our community members, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation. We will never, ever allow the existence, the history, the contributions, the fabric of our LGBTQIA plus neighbors to be erased. Rather, we are here to stay. Together, we will continue to fight for equality, acceptance, visibility for every person, ensuring that our borough remains a place where all identities, cultures are celebrated, are embraced, are empowered, are enriched. We are all together. So I say thank you. I am so grateful for each and every one of you, and I thank you for what you do in our communities. I thank you for being trusted partners and credible messengers that have been in our communities. Folks, we are not new to this work. We have been down this road before. And if you understand that we are here for this moment, this time, and this reason, you understand your purpose. You understand your assignment. That is to help someone else, to lift up a neighbor, lift up a brother, a sister, a sibling, and help them, whether it's housing, food, healthcare, social services. We can't let our people live in destruction, but we have to lift everyone up. So no matter the community, the CBO, the organization that you represent them to the very best. And while you do that, be authentic about who you are. No one can take our history, our culture, our diversity, our identities away. Folks will always try. Trust me, folks will always try when they see weakness. But this moment is built for us. The strong will always survive. So I need everyone to understand and be prepared, because I love to say, my staff knows, if we stay ready, we don't have to get ready. We have to stay ready to be in the battlefield, on the front lines for our people, walk in the streets. We have to stand up. We can't let this administration think that they got the best of us, because if we allow that to happen, they're not the problem, it's us. It is us. We can't allow things to be done to us unless we fight back. And fighting back means our actions, our words, our commitment, our determination, doing this work with purpose and intention. We have to be intentional about this work, because most importantly, our children, our scholars, our kids, our babies, they need us. They are fighting against society and statistics and data and everything that's used to describe who we are. And our children need help. Trauma is a real thing, folks, and we don't acknowledge it, but it is. It's traumatizing to go through this world, living in this environment with an administration like this. But if I tell you that the strong will survive and we are in this to win, we are unstoppable, folks. So as we recognize Transgender Day of Visibility, we do so with a renewed spirit, a renewed commitment, a renewed determination to make a difference, to be the difference, to lead like never before. I need everyone to lead. I can only do this work with all of you. This is about the Bronx and New York City. Don't ever think for a minute that we don't belong in these spaces. Many of us are first in these positions, and that's great, but make sure you're not the last. And make sure that as you sit at tables, like Shirley Chisholm said, if there's not a seat for you, bring a folding chair. Shirley Chisholm said in one of her last speeches in the House, before she decided to run for president, she said, I want to be remembered for the work that I did, but I know that while I may not win the battle right now, somebody will come behind me and they will win the war. I want everyone, ladies and gentlemen, to know that we have to win that war. For my brother, for my sister, for your brother, your sister, for all of us. So thank you so much for being here. We look forward to today's panel discussion. To every organizer, every advocate, every activist, let's stay ready so we don't have to get ready. And I love to say this, Connie, you'll appreciate this. She ready? We ready, y'all. Thank you so much. Alisa?
Give it up for the borough president of the Bronx, Vanessa L. Gibson. Yes. Your borough president could never, okay? Show me another borough president who stands 10 toes down for trans people in the city of New York. And y'all have to listen to the message. You have to read between the lines, y'all. All right, so we're going to get into this panel now. I want to just really quickly thank our hosts, the Office of the Bronx Borough President, Destination Tomorrow, and the Bronx LGBTQIA+ Task Force for bringing us here, and the Commission on Human Rights for bringing us here together. Today we celebrate Trans Week of Visibility, which culminates with Trans Day of Visibility on Monday, March 31st. And during a time when there are well-coordinated, well-funded efforts to erase us, it is imperative that we make space for these conversations, because the attack on gender is an attack on our very democracy. Today it's trans people, tomorrow it could be you. So in honor of this important day, we have an esteemed panel of public servants who happen to be trans. Trans leaders in government who aren't just fighting for other trans people, but fighting for you too, because that is what we do. So before we jump into the panel, it's important to name that these folks are breaking glass ceilings and making history within their agencies and offices. Yes. Being some of the first with their identity to hold these roles, which is not an easy task, my friends. That comes with its own challenges, and I'm sure that we will get into that today. So I'm going to start here, and we're going to jump into this with an opening question for all of you, to all of our panelists here today. And we're going to start with you, Tabitha, and go along. Actually, first, let me introduce our panelists really quickly. Again, we are joined today by Ori Harbor from the NYPD, who is a detective at the New York Police Department. Please give a round of applause for Ori Harbor. We are also joined by Kim Benjamin Watson, or Kim Watson and Benjamin, who is here from the New York City Public Advocate's Office. She is the LGBT+ health coordinator, working for a citywide office here in New York City for the great Jumaane Williams. We are also joined by Taylor Brown, who is the Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Rights Bureau at the New York State Attorney General's Office, Letitia James. Please give her a round of applause. We're also joined by Sam Stanton from the Comptroller's Office, who serves as a Senior Policy Researcher, and Tabitha Gonzalez, the Human Rights Specialist at the Human Rights Commission of the City of New York. All right, so the first question for all of you, we're going to start with Tabitha and go down the line. Please specify the tasks your role involves and how long you've been in this position at your institution, and you can expound or elaborate in any way. Tell us who you are, what do you do? Is it on? There we go. Here.
Hello? Hi, I've been now with the Commission on Human Rights for about 3 years. My primary role is to do outreach and education, because we actually believe that education and outreach are critical tools to combat discrimination that most of our trans and LGBTQ+ communities face. Are you getting feedback? Yeah. Are you able to hear? I'm sorry. Okay. So again, I've been with the commission for 3 years, and part of my role is to educate and do outreach to the larger communities. We believe that education and outreach are essential tools to combating discrimination. Since my time here at CCHR, I've only met about 4 or 5 other trans people and gender nonconforming people that work within government. It's important to just read this statistic very quickly as I educate. I want to impress upon you that according to the last Comptroller's report, that 10% of New Yorkers identify as transgender. and 4% identify as gender nonconforming. We're clearly underrepresented in government. And I'm here today to continue to educate us and empower us to assume these roles and enter into these spaces so we could begin to shape policies that protect us. I am proud to be here with my executive team from CCHR, and I'm happy that they're standing in solidarity with me. So that's my role, that's what I do. I would be remiss if I didn't say that I approached this role through my sister Chanel, who is the former trans liaison here, and we've had the privilege of continuously working with her to continue to enforce human rights.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Kim Watson Benjamin. I I am the LGBT and health coordinator at the New York City Public Advocate's Office with the Housing, Health, and Equity Wheelhouse. And my direct role there is to intersect all communities, institutes, and organizations. Um, each one teach one, like, pass on education to the office and make the office really embrace the community at large with all the other stuff that been heard. So I'm in the office turning the negative into positive, to making the great outlook and the insight of the public advocate, Jemani D. Williams, really necessary, really sensitive, and not understanding what toxicity can really travel and hurt an office that if you don't know, you would not know. But I am here to let you know that things have smoothened across the land, and he will continue to stand up and have a platform for the LGBT and queer and gender nonconforming communities. I've been in my role for the past 5 years, undoubtedly, and I continue to be in that role to make standards and to be a speaker for all communities, not specifically just the LGBT community, but all human beings. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Chanel Lopez. I, I go by she and her pronouns. I am the first trans woman of color to be appointed by the New York State Governor as the Deputy Director of LGBTQ Affairs. I've been in my role for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was at the City Commission on Human Rights as the Transgender Community Liaisons, a role that my sister now has taken over. And my role at the governor's office is basically I cover across the state and making sure that everyone in my community has a voice, it is heard, it is seen, and I go back to the office and I speak to the senior staff. I speak to the governor about important policies to ensure protections for our trans community. And as we all know, we're being attacked in the federal level, which means funding is being trying to be taken away. And so we're working diligently to make sure that we could cover or partly cover what the federal takes from us. So I am that voice. Thank God we are in we're in the state of New York. Not too many my brothers and sisters have it that easy, but we're blessed to be here, and we will continue to fight.
Peace and greetings, everybody. My name is Ori Ade Harbor. You can call me Ori Ade, or you can call me Ori. I've been on the force for a little bit over 18 years. And my first half of my career, I was doing street work. And now I've been in the Office of Management Analysis and Planning. So I'm a policy writer. I've been in that position for 8 years. So pretty much doing research, development, data analysis, and of course, policy writing. And I'll talk a little bit later about one of the big projects that hopefully sometime this year or next year that has to directly do with the TGNC community in New York. But that's one of the big projects that I'm working on. And I'm just honored to be here today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Brown, she, her pronouns. I'm an Assistant Attorney General in the Civil Rights Bureau at the AG's office, Attorney General James. Oh, you can't hear me. How about now? That's better? Yeah, I think it may be the fan. Sorry, so I'll try that again. Taylor Brown, she, her pronouns. I'm an Assistant Attorney General in the Civil Rights Bureau in the New York Attorney General's office. In this role, thanks, DJ. In this role, I primarily do litigations and investigations enforcing state constitutional and statutory civil rights law. So that's the human rights law, state human rights law, city human rights law, which are inclusive of gender identity and gender expression as well. As of last November, we now have gender identity and gender expression protected in our state constitution. And before that, I was at the ACLU and I was at Lambda Legal where I was doing litigation. My litigation was national in that I was primarily suing states in the South and the first Trump administration when I began my career over discriminatory prison policies, healthcare policies, and all kind of fun stuff. And my work at the AG's office, part of coming there was to do more expansive work, especially around racial justice and things like that. And so I do lead our litigation suing Nassau County for its discriminatory athletics policy, banning trans girls in places of public accommodations. But I also do a host of work around unconstitutional policing practices, excessive force, detentions, disparities in education for Black and brown children and children with disabilities, around punishment and educational equality. And yeah, so lots of law enforcement, but in a good way, in my opinion, because we are enforcing civil rights, which I think is some of the most important and groundbreaking law that we can do.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. My name's Sam Stanton. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a senior policy researcher at the City Comptroller's Office. I've been in city government about 12 years. My first job out of college was a minimum wage frontline job at the Business Integrity Commission. Then I went to law school where I met the amazing Taylor and was in the mayor's office of immigrant affairs for several years after that. And then I worked on this charter revision commission called the Racial Justice Commission, where we proposed 3 changes to the charter to embed racial equity in everything the city does. Then I went back to the mayor's office of equity and not just to, maybe this is not a safe space, but I'm just gonna keep it real. I left the mayor's office after he appointed 3 homophobic bigots to work in the mayor's office, and I came to the city comptroller's office to hold the mayor accountable. My main job at the comptroller's office is to be the immigration nerd for the office, so I advise the comptroller on immigration policy, but I have a very big portfolio that includes economic justice, public benefits, racial equity, LGBT rights, and I'm sure as everyone here recognizes, all of these issues are trans rights issues. Economic justice, immigration justice, racial justice are all trans rights issues. So I consider everything I do to be about trans rights, but mostly it's immigration policy.
Thank you so much for the opening question. The acoustics are not that good in here, so please bear with us. And to our panelists, please try to speak up a little bit if you can. So the next question is going to be for Oriade Harbor specifically. Oriade, if you can tell us, as a person of trans experience working within law enforcement, how do you navigate the complexities of policing while advocating for the safety and dignity of trans individuals?
Thank you for the question. Complex question with many complex answers. So first I'll say I'm the first trans out detective in the history of the New York City Police Department. So that, of course, in itself was a journey. And I think that, so for me, it's the intersection of all of my identities and navigating being in law enforcement, right? So that's an identity as an Iyawo, Ifa priest. It's an identity as a black man in America. It's an identity as a father, as a brother, as a spiritual leader, and of course, as a trans person and many, many other identities. So I think for me, looking at where I am in my life, but also in my career now, as far as advocacy, safety, and justice. And of course, those things are paramount, but how do you, I always get the question of like, how do you navigate that being a person in blue, right? And then having your foot in all these other worlds, right? Um, and the bare answer I usually give is it seems simple, but it starts with like your own, not just self identity, but what your integrity is. Because when we have nothing else, all we have to stand on is our integrity and is our character. But essentially, what I do now, as far as internally how my advocacy looks, is pretty much I train from the recruits all the way up to executive staff, not just TGNT, but LGBTQI plus, as far as training in the police academy and up to the executive staff within the department. And then for me, my specialty is policy. So how do we analyze policy, of course, but one component is policy and making sure that policy is equitable. And the other thing is we know policy and practice is very different, right? Whether it's this organization or any organization. So the challenge is uh, being a policy analyst and the one writing policy and the one training. Um, Another question is how do you change the culture, right, of an organization, which is the most difficult thing to do. Um, but I think the part that's most essential is, of course, does policy and training match what the law is, right? And does policy and training include what is best practice, even if it's not the law? And that's a little different for here because the state and the city of New York is very different from other states, especially in the South or the Midwest. But how does our policy and our training um, match what's actually happening on the ground, whether you're out on the streets or whether you're inside of the department? I think the other part, when I think of like advocacy and justice and safety, um, is also about visibility. And I think, not want to speak for everybody, but I think we understand our brothers and sisters who choose to be stealth, and certainly honor them in their identity and how they choose to express their identity. But I think one of the best ways we can advocate is through our visibility. And I wasn't necessarily at the beginning that I wanted to be, because I wanted someone to know and appreciate me for my skill and my intellect and my talents and my gifts. And I didn't just want to become Ori the trans person, and everything else about me was discarded. But I think, Audre Lorde said our silence will not save us. And I think,
That's right.
especially at a time like this, our advocacy and our justice also has to be rooted in those who are willing to stand up and be visible and be on the front line,
Yes.
in whatever government way that you can.
Thank you so much. Chanel, I'm gonna come to you for the next question. What challenges do you face as a trans person working at this level of government, at the executive level, on the state level, and how do you push for policies that ensure trans safety and equity?
Okay, long question. I had to write things down. So, working at this level of government as a trans person presents both opportunities and challenges, right? One of the biggest challenges is ensuring that trans voices are not only heard, but taken seriously in decisions making. There are also the reality of navigating political landscapes where trans rights are often debated rather than treated as fundamental human rights. Despite these challenges, I use my position to push for policies that prioritize trans safety and equity by ensuring trans inclusive language and priorities are embedded in the executive policies and budget recommendations, working directly with advocacy organizations, community leaders, and impacted individuals to shape policies that reflect real needs. Holding agencies accountable for implementing protections like gender and expanding access to gender-affirming care, amplifying the concerns of trans and non-binary New Yorkers at the highest level government to drive meaningful actions.
Thank you. The next question is for Kim Watson.
Oh, and before we continue,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
representation always matters.
Period. Kim, you spoke earlier in your opening about turning the negative into a positive within the office. What does everyday advocacy look like in your role, and how do you engage with the community to make systemic change from where you sit?
Okay. What does everyday advocacy looks like for me in my role within the Public Advocate Jemani D. Williams office? One of the things, I take my platform very, very, very seriously. However, I know that when I'm in my role, I still have to come back to community. And I haven't given up on community. I feel like I'm a trilogy coming from medical, clinical, and now in policy. And my policy rule is within the systematic change is to make sure that community is being heard. I know that I have to compartmentalize being in a professional position, being in my personal position, as well as in community. I understand that in my role that some will love me and some will hate me because of the political choices that I have chose. However, in the background of that, when you're saying like action camera, I just want you to know I have created and been part of so many legislations and so many resolutions for the trans community coming from mental health, clinical perspective, and a medical perspective with the Article 28 and 31F. And I just want you to understand that there is so much back work that is being done systemically. And if you really, it's called communication, right? It's calling, get in touch with your brothers and sisters within government and city. Because if you don't get in touch with me, you will never know what I'm doing. But today, I want to send you that message and know that I breathe down policy team. I let my boss, the public advocate, Jemani, knows this is what I want to see. Nothing that he does is scripted for me. Everything that he says comes from his heart as a black man, as a faith black man, as a father and an individual who have dealt with maternity and mobility within this community and understand, and I let him also understand being a black man and dealing with toxicity with the black men in the community. I asked him to understand and be accountable for some of the things he agree or disagree with. And this is how I speak to him just like I speak to community. So I hold my platform very, very, very seriously and understand that my advocacy rule is to connect all the links and all the dots and cross my T's and understand that in this way, I can be the chameleon in any way, fashion, or form to make sure that his office is standing on their dime and on their toes, stand down, to make sure that the political climate is understanding that he represents us as a community, black and brown and Latino underserved community. Thank you.
Taylor, we're going to come over to you next. We know that a lot of the things coming out of the White House are landing on the desk of our Attorney General, our great Attorney General, Letitia James. Can you discuss some of the common legal challenges that trans individuals face in New York and how your office has been able to provide insight or assistance regarding these challenges?
Yeah, on the federal level, I should say, I think I always tell people that federal law is a floor that sort of sets the standards for our entire country, and then state and city law is able to go above and beyond that. And New York has done a great job in that in terms of the ways and that we protect various aspects of the lives of transgender people, including healthcare, housing, and things like that. And so all those protections exist and have existed for a while. And so in terms of the federal attacks, I'll say, obviously, Attorney General James and the office has been very busy in responding to many of the unlawful executive orders that have been issued by the Trump administration. In various ways, either as in coalition with other attorney general's offices or as amici in some cases, and in ways like that. But in terms of challenges on the state level, I think, like Sam said, many of the issues that we talk about are very intersectional. I think in looking at this panel, you'll see that like it's Black and brown trans people, and that's because, you know, I think we all deal with some of the things that disproportionately impact trans people, but that are issues for our communities as a whole. Poverty, discrimination in education, discrimination in housing, discrimination in employment. And those things are still very much around and still exist. And I would also say the kinds of interpersonal daily interactions that people have in public, trans people have in public, that kind of just interpersonal discrimination is still a very big issue. And so our office, again, you know, there are certain limitations that are just built in by the law about what we can do and where we have jurisdiction and things like that. I see my role as empowering people to make complaints when their civil rights are violated. It's just something that you cannot tolerate, something we can't tolerate as a society. And at the AG's office, we can't act unless we have reports. And so people have to make complaints to us whenever they are discriminated against in order for us to take action and to challenge patterns in practice and systemic discrimination that occurs in the state.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Tabitha, the next question will be for you. The New York City Human Rights Commission plays a crucial role in enforcing anti-discrimination protections within the 5 boroughs. How do you ensure that trans individuals know their rights and have access to justice when discrimination occurs?
Thank you. For over 80 years, the New York City Commission on Human Rights have fought for a city free of discrimination. I'll start there. The commission has a dual mandate. On one hand, the commission is a law enforcement borough, enforces the city human rights law. On the other hand, the community relationship borough offers workshops, events like this, and trainings and rights and responsibilities of New Yorkers under human rights law. In my role, and I want to be very clear, on my role, it's important. I truly believe that education and outreach are essential tools. That is not just a catchphrase. Human rights exist. They can only exist if we use them. They're only afforded to us if we use them. And my life is just as important as yours. So when the representation is there and I'm in the rooms and I'm providing these trainings, I am ensuring that trans voices and trans people are at the forefront of shaping these policies and being the voice behind the protection. It is imperative that we continue to enforce human rights law. Navigating this current climate right now could be very challenging. So I actually want to just say how proud I am of everyone alongside of me as we stand here visible for you today. A lot of people covet spaces and want to be in spaces and don't understand the heavy lifting that goes through this. I am proud to have this position in this office. I am proud of the work that we do at commissions. I am proud of how we stand 10 toes down, as my other panelists have said, to ensure that trans New Yorkers are aware of their rights. And not just only for trans and LGBTQ plus New Yorkers, but all New Yorkers are aware of their rights. We have multiple trainings that you can go and request online to get the training. We have upstanding intervention training, understanding the Jewish experience, understanding the Muslim experience. We have trainings for our youth, trainings for our immigrants that we can uphold, and everyone becomes aware of their protections in New York City. Some of us are not aware of it because we're not taught that. So when the Bronx Borough president said that I came before her team, it was an office of probably like 80 people who were interested in human rights law. New York City has one of the largest, robust human rights law in the nation. We are protected here, and it's important that we understand that. Personally, as a trans person navigating this time, living in fear and being considered leaders of what we do in the first of many spaces. It is very difficult navigating during this time as our fears are enhanced while not validating others' fears. And I need you to sit with that. Trans people cannot be your solution and your problem. Pick one. So as we sit here today, I need you to understand that the call to action is to become aware of your rights, not just for ours, but for everyone that is close to you. So in my role, I continue to uphold that visibility by continuing to go out and outreach in my communities and to host events around the work that the New York City Commissions is doing today and every day. And if you experience any discrimination at any level, please don't hesitate to reach out. And please, we have an office right here on 1932 Arthur Avenue, second floor. Stop by. You'll see me and the amazing staff. I always like to name drop. So I feel like in my heart, I want to shout out a special person in the room. I think she left, but she's also was very instrumental in making this event happen for me. Doreen Bermudez, who is a director of programs at CCHR, Chanel's work mom. So I'm pretty sure she was proud of this moment. And my kids who are sitting over there with his phone in his hand, um, recording his mom. But this is so monumental to me because this is how the work is done. Each one teach one.
Thank you. Sam, we're going to round out the individual questions with you, and then we'll come back to a final question for everyone to answer. Sam, how does your role in the Comptroller's office allow you to address economic disparities that disproportionately impact trans communities, such as housing, security, employment, and healthcare access?
Well, I'm going to start with a pivot on that. So, right after Trump got elected, our office put out a report called Protecting NYC. And if y'all have read Project 2025, it lays out a blueprint for how they're going to use trans people as a scapegoat to rip away federal funds from cities. And so we put out this report that basically shows that they're trying to defund our city because we stood up for trans rights and DEI, racial equity, and immigrant rights. So when we think about like the economy, the budget, all of that now is centered on us. It's centered on immigrants. It's centered on people of color. And so when folks try to frame trans rights as a niche issue or that it's just about 1% of the population, now this is gonna affect everybody. Because if they're defunding H&H, that's hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers that are gonna lose access to health care. If they're defunding our schools, that's like 1 million kids that are gonna suffer. It's not just 1% of the population, it's all of us. And in my work, we've done a lot, we've produced a lot of reports kind of showing the economic benefits of immigration, the economic benefits of welcoming new arrivals. All those arguments are there, the data proves it, but there's also a moral argument for why we should welcome immigrants, right? And there's a values-based argument. And that's also in our charter, in our preamble of the charter, that these are our values as New Yorkers. So that's a lot of the work that I do. A big issue with thinking about how economic disparities impact the trans community is we just don't have a lot of good data. There are very few sources of data on the trans community in particular. The State Department of Labor put out a really great report about a year or two ago about transgender people in the workforce. That was really great. Probably the only thing I've ever seen like that on that level. And now we're in a place where it's scary to collect data because they're weaponizing that data against us. And I think we just need to go with what we know. We know that all these disparities affect the trans community the worst. And I want to also call out, being in the Bronx is the borough with the biggest inequities. The Bronx is the borough that is the most left behind structurally by the city government. And I think that all these issues that impact us are just impacting trans people worse, right? Like trans immigrants right now, people being disappeared for their activism, people being disappeared for tattoos that they have, LGBT people being sent away to labor camps in countries that they're not even from. These are all trans rights issues. For me, it's like I bring that lens, not just from my lived experience, but just knowing that all these struggles are interconnected. And ultimately, this is all about pushing back against white supremacy and a white nationalist agenda.
I know that's right. So we're going to ask a closing question to each of you that you all can answer, which is, what is your call to action today to those who are here in the room or who may be watching this? What do you believe the city and the state has yet to do in response to what we are experiencing right now as trans people? What is your closing call to action that you want to leave people with? And we'll go down the line. We'll start with you, Tabitha. All right. Who wants to go first?
What is my call to action? Well, first I'll say I'll push back a little bit on what Tabitha said. I've never had a problem being anyone's problem, and certainly can offer them many a solution. And I think that is key in this, is that we have to, we just cannot take this kind of disrespect and this kind of undermining of our humanity in this way. I think that government officials have to speak up more. Attorney General James has done more than her fair share of work in this state as an elected representative. And I'm proud that she's done that, but we need accountability from every elected official. Everyone needs to be speaking out. It is a priority. And so that would be my biggest call to action, and vote. I encourage vote, vote, vote. Get your neighbor to vote, register to vote. It is so important in how we are going to be able to survive, truly survive the next 4 years of this administration, the federal administration.
Anyone can go next.
All right. Call to action. One, I think we all know it's going to be challenging over the next 4 years. So take care of your mental and emotional health, because we can't fight, we can't advocate, we can't beat the streets, we can't do anything behind closed doors if we're not well ourselves, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So one, take care of yourself. Two, if you don't identify with a certain community, trans, LGBT, gender nonconforming, advocate or fight in whatever way you can, whether it's on social media, whether it's joining in an organization, whether it's in your own home. Because as we know, a lot of the rhetoric starts from home, the foundation. So in whatever way you can be, an ally, I think sometimes, and I've done this too, where it's like you're most passionate about something when it directly impacts you or directly impacts your family, right? But I think we need everybody, no matter how you identify, at a time, like this. So that will be my call to action, which is one, take care of yourself, and two, get involved in whatever way you can to fight and to advocate, and also to be an ally for marginalized, communities.
Thank you.
I agree with both, and I certainly agree with Taylor. Like, our elected officials now more than ever need to speak up and need to amplify those protections that were set in place. We need to strengthen that. But the LGBT community is only 1%. So what that means, we need our allies to show up and show out. And I mean, not just saying I'm an ally, I mean advocating, going to the Capitol, going to Washington, D.C., posting on your social medias, really showing that you're an ally, not just saying it. Because this is an exhausting job. And it's not easy on none of us on this panel having to fight every single day. I mean, speaking for myself, I don't go to sleep. There's times where, like, I am going from one place to another, and then at 6 in the morning, I have a meeting with the policy team because a new executive order came out. So again, this work is heavy on us. And I agree, we need to take care of ourselves, but now more than ever, like I said, we need allies.
Thank you.
My call to action to you today and to communities and all around society is I want you, and I echo everything that my colleagues here say today. I really want you to understand the plight that we have to compartmentalize ourselves. My call for action is for you to stand up for liberation. I want you to stand up for liberation for all. I want you to understand with the sound of my voice, if you don't say anything, nobody says nothing. And then you become the problem. You are part of the problem if you're not standing up for us, they, them, theirs, gender nonconforming, and all across the land. If you are just speaking for yourself, what you show, be very proactive in the things that you do, what you say, and what tone you use. Because that's what sends a message. I need you to amplify the fact that we are at war. I want you to understand, to hold on to your emotions. I give you all rights to be angry. I give you all rights to be emotional. I give you all rights to let that happen with you. Do not let anyone take that from you and say everything's going to be okay. Nothing is okay. Whether we uplift, whether they pass, whether they eradicate, whether they pause, nothing is okay. I ask my conspirators and my accomplices, stop playing in my face. My call to action is to tell you, although working in the city, like my niece said, it is exhausting. I don't sleep. And I have a 15-year-old daughter who I have to pay so much attention to. And then my other kids in the community who comes to me. When NYU banned from giving the youth services, I said the buck stop now. I made some calls. They want me to sit on their board. However, they don't know what they really want. Because if you bring me on your board, what's your next job? What I did is made sure that by the end of February into the first week of March, 3 individuals from my other hat that I wear was allowed to have surgery. What you're not going to do is continue playing in our faces and think it's okay. We are not the yes party. We are not the yo party. But we're in between to tell you we stand up, and as we stand up, we will continue to fight. We've been fighting since the 1960s. Well, I have just to tell you my age a little. But my call to action is to not follow me, lead with me. My call to action is to stand with me, not behind me, but at my side. I don't need no followers. I don't want anyone in my footsteps. I need you to stand next to me, scream higher than I can scream, and be aggressive passive. Could that change the tone of rooms and spaces? We can be loud, but we also can be very classy and dignified. Thank you.
What do I say after all of that? I think she just gave us all our action plan. I love you, Kim. Very quickly, I just came from a conference in Houston where they're actually trying to propose a bill of gender identity fraud. And as I was going shopping, I saw this young queer kid with their parent in the store. And I was getting ready to compliment them on their sandals. And I turned around, there was a young queer child with their parent going to the store shopping. but their interaction was one that moved me, that I took pictures because I was like, how could you want to harm trans people from accessing life, and you say you care about nuclear families and you want to disrupt this child to have a life that they rightfully deserve? So my call to action is, please be aware of what's going on in your social climate and make sure that our elders and our youth are protected. One thing is for certain, this youth are more assured of themselves than we ever were. It didn't take them 40 or 50 years to determine what their identity was. They are sure of who they are today. And they will tell you that if you listen. So my call to action is just listen. Stand up and fight back with us. If they come for us, they will come for you. I'm going to repeat that. If they come for us, they will come for you. Uphold human rights law. Like I said before, it can only be accessible if we use them. If you are unaware, please become aware of what's going on. To the trans people under the sound of my voice in this room, please know that your lives matter, right? You are loved, you are valued, and your life matters. I was in Houston and I didn't see a flag. And it was a trans convention, and I was afraid of how I would navigate that space. I am so happy I live in New York, where we have a trans flag raised out in front of a Bronx, a federal building. That there's our flag. We should be proud of that. So I want to say thank you to Justin and Jaden for making sure that that happened. We will be the first of many, but it should not end with this panel. Continue to have conversations about ways that you can show up and support the trans people in your lives. And that's my call to action.
Thank you. Sam, you want to close us out with your call to action, please?
All right, thank you. I just want to echo what everyone else said. In terms of elected officials, I agree. Like, people need to be vocal. Also, people need to be held accountable for trying to throw us under the bus, because we are not the problem. We are not the issue. The egg prices are expensive or whatever. That's number one. And I also just want to say, hope is a practice. It's a radical practice. It's a defiant practice. It's something I try to lean into when things feel really dark, that these struggles are generational. They have existed long before us, and they will continue after us. And it's our responsibility to just keep pushing and to keep fighting. And yeah, I mean, I think we need to be really clear-eyed in this moment. Like, we are staring at fascism and authoritarianism right now. We are there. And now is the time to get creative and think outside the box and push as hard as we can.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge a young lady who's in the audience with us who is also pushing barriers at the New York City's Health Department. Her name is Jasmine Lopez. And in closing, I just want to say I can't help but look at this room and look at the paintings on the wall and think of how we are not supposed to be in this room, or whoever built this building had never thought that we would be taking up space in this room, having these conversations. I hope that you enjoyed this panel discussion. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come out and to hear from these brilliant public servants. And please, if there's more refreshments, help yourself. And that's going to conclude our panel. Please give a thunderous round of applause to our esteemed panel. Thank you.